Hi everyone. I wanted to join John in welcoming everyone to our conference, and I wanted to spend a minute or two, or maybe three, in talking about why we decided to do the conference this way as a nearly carbon neutral event. I've said many times now that air travel to conferences is academia's biggest dirty little secret. And the carbon footprint of UCSB, when we looked at it very carefully, we discovered that a third of the carbon footprint comes from air travel that staff and faculty do to events like this, conventional ones. But beyond that, there are other reasons, cultural reasons, which I find very interesting. In other words, reasons why you might want to do this, even though, even if you weren't taking the environment into account. So, for example, we've gone to pretty great lengths to make sure that this event is accessible. All the talks are closed captioned. Most people have checked and edited the closed caption for accuracy. Also, we've used best backend HTML practices to make the whole website and the talks accessible to people who are using screen readers. So in both ways, we're thinking about people who have accessibility issues with vision or hearing, whatever. It's also more accessible to people who couldn't come to a conference or travel is too big of an expense. That's not just in the US, but worldwide. I mean, most of the world can't travel internationally to conferences. So, a huge number of scholars are left out of conversations like this. And then there's the issue of the fact that conferences are kind of this ephemeral thing that people who don't have access, who can't afford to come to them, don't have access to what happens there. Well, with a conference like this, it's anyone with an internet access and a computer or even a mobile device, a phone, anywhere in the world can access what's happening here. So there are even more advantages that I won't bother to go through them all. But what's interesting about this event and why I'm curious to see how well it works is because we are, for the most part, the people participating here, pretty close California people. We could have done this as not a fly-in but a drive-in event. But the other reasons strike me as really important. So I'm anxious to see how this works out. And one of the barometers we use for that is how much discussion is generated. So in previous events, we found out that when you compare to, how much, actually happens during a 15-minute Q&A, as far as, the amount of speech and questions and all, that our conferences generate like 3 times as much discussion. So I'm kind of curious to see how this works out, and I encourage everyone to participate in all. But I'll let John speak more to the theme of the conference. He's sort of doing content. I'm kind of doing form. But it should be a really great event, and I don't want to take time having you listen to me. It would be far better if you listen to some of the great talks we have scheduled. So thanks again for coming, and interested and happy to see everyone here.